My next guest is a close friend of mine who has overcome many obstacles to beat the evil that is cancer. Holly, thanks for making time to be here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I'm super excited. It's been a while. We've been talking about it for a while.
We have been. Yes. It's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
So
I'm Zach Miller with my co-host Vance Brenden.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And we are touching base with Holly Schmidt today. So you are originally from the Tilden area, correct?
Yes. I grew up in Tilden, born and raised, high school, then went to college, Northeast, did my, did my college years besides Northeast at Bellevue. And then that was it.
Oh, I didn't realize that you went to Bellevue?
Yeah, I didn't actually. I just did their online program to finish my last 2 years. Because that's when my mom actually was diagnosed with cancer. I stayed there to help her out, which was 25 years ago. It was a million years ago.
Right. What was your major in college?
Human resource management.
Oh.
So I feel like that could have helped me in my service industry lines that I went in a few times because I did retail, I did bartending. It was all kind of centered around the service industry.
Were you in any sports or activities in high school at all?
Yes, I did volleyball and basketball throughout my high school career, but I didn't do anything in college.
Nothing in college?
No.
Were you good enough to? Were you getting recruited?
I don't know. I don't think so. Because in a Class C school, you're more interested in like going out afterwards and not, hey, let's stick around for practice and do
it's
more.
Better to go to the MMRs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it just wasn't my bag. So that I was getting no calls. No.
So what has been your career path? I know that you were at Sports Den for a while. Was that kind of like
that was like my first because I was selling shoes and doing retail at the mall. I worked in Herberger's for 2 or 3 years, and then I did there was a shoe store athlete that I did for a while.
That was a good store.
Yeah, it was fun.
That store.
My coworkers and I, we had a good time. But yeah, and then all of a sudden, one day I went in there to visit a friend at the Sports Den, and she had said, the owners here, maybe you want to think about, asking for a job or whatever. And I was like, no, this just really isn't for me. And then I hung out there for the rest of the night, and I had so much fun. I decided I'm going to try and work here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it worked out for 7 years I was there. Met Matt because Matt worked in the kitchen, and we got married.
That's a great story.
I know. It's
you guys do have kind of a cool story of how you met.
He was the kitchen manager, and I worked out front, and
you're robbing the cradle.
I was totally robbing the cradle because he is 5 years younger. And the going joke is always that I was waiting for him at his graduation, like, hey, here I am. It's kind of crooked, but it's funny. It's funny.
That's funny.
But yeah, we met and got married, and the rest is total history.
Right? Does it feel like it was just yesterday?
It does, but we worked so much back then, like to the point of 18-hour days and Monday through Saturdays. And I don't remember having much time off to do much besides we got married and then we had to go back to work.
Right.
Because we were working. It's a bar, and anybody that's worked in the service industry knows good help is hard to find, and we were no exception.
Well, after a while, he was running the kitchen, right?
Yes.
And you were kind of upper management out front.
Yeah, kind of. But honestly, it was just it was so hard to find people that wanted to do those long 5 to 1s or 5 to 2s. And I'm sure it's still hard for bar owners to do that now,
right.
But man, it was hard back then.
I'm sure.
So
the money was probably good back. That place was pretty busy.
The money was great.
I'm sure. And it was always instant money because the tips you're getting that night. And
yes. Like you forget how much you like not having tips.
Right.
Dang it.
It's that's a tough thing to go away from when you're used to getting money every day.
You get like that instant cash. Like you
Right,
don't have to wait. I don't need to go cash a check. It's in my pocket.
Although some people go the other way and then spend it all, and then they don't have money for their bills.
I know. And
it was tough when I was a server and bartender and everything. That's where I would run into problems because I got all this cash. Well,
why don't I spend it?
Check is tiny.
I have nothing left. Yes. I know.
It's a learning curve.
It is for sure. Yeah.
So from the sports, then did you get into insurance right after that?
I did. I got into it. I left the Sports Den, and I was looking for basically anything because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
The way I left was pretty abrupt, and so it kind of threw me for a loop. And I answered this ad that I had seen, and I don't think Indeed was there back then, but it was some kind of it was like Monster. You guys remember Monster? Okay, that's what it was. And it was Horace Mann Insurance. And it was basically getting your own book and getting your licenses and then being in charge of a territory. And honestly, when I got into it, I didn't realize that it was going to be so extensive. I didn't realize all the testing, just like you, there's just so much to learn and so much to memorize and do. And I had a problem with the application of it. Like I could memorize and learn all of these things, but once I needed a real life situation in order to apply what I had learned.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. So it was tough for me to sell. I don't think I'm cut out for selling. It's not my bag, but when it came to the office side, I was much better equipped to underwrite and to handle property and casualty liability verbiage, understanding how to break down a policy. That was more my forte. So I stayed at Horace Mann for probably a year and a half. And then when my husband was working at Menards, he talked to a gentleman who used to teach. He used to teach at Norfolk Catholic. He's actually an adjuster for Grinnell right now.
Oh.
And I can't remember.
I can't think of who.
Joel Waddington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Joel Waddington. And so Joel had walked in and, hey, Matt, how's it going? And what's going on? And so you're married now. What does your wife do? And he said, well, actually, she's working in insurance. She sells insurance for Horace Mann. And he said, Norfolk Mutual is looking for an underwriter because they have 2 that are leaving. And so I literally called Ron the next day and I was like, so I hear you have an opening. So I'm interested because I don't like selling insurance anymore. So I went down there and he interviewed me and I think I started a week later, maybe.
Really?
Yeah. 2 weeks later.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
I gave Horace Mann the proper notification,
right.
but it's so tough in those like captive agencies to have a big enough territory. I felt like to make enough money.
It's hard to go from scratch.
It really
Especially
is.
if you're in a territory, like you're not free reign to go.
No, you had to stay in certain parameters of the state and which was fine. And there was a book that was available, but it had been picked apart so many times that when I had finally gotten it, I feel like it was kind of a little less than what we should have been living on.
Right.
It just wasn't making enough. And the rates were always a problem. If your rates aren't competitive, then you're not going to get a whole lot of business. So yeah, I ended up working at Norfolk Mutual. I've been there ever since.
I think that's a misconception about insurance is people think, every insurance agent makes a bunch of money.
No.
But if your book's not sizable,
it doesn't happen.
You're really kind of scraping by.
Yeah. And the more if you do start from scratch, man, you got to put your nose to the grindstone and you got to hustle. I really
commend anybody that completely does a scratch book.
Me too.
Because it takes a lot.
You just have to be so dedicated. And so, I mean, that's your 10 to 10 every day or 8 to 8, whatever you want to call it.
Right. So you're in underwriting.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I really think that you have a personality to sell. Like you can talk to literally anybody.
Yes. I love to talk to people, but it's the closing.
You're not confident in this. Yeah.
It's
can't
that close. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's that asking for money is my problem. And
not
that was
confident in that.
always my problem because then it came like my spiel was always good. Like I always had my facts straight. And then it's okay. All you got to do is sign the dotted line.
You just sit there.
And it was always.
Do you want to do it?
Yes.
Do you want to do it?
That was me. That was totally me. It was like, so are you comfortable with this? And instead of, basically handing them the pen and saying, I need your signature. This is what we're doing. It was always a question.
Right.
And the questions they don't really pan out. Like you just have to tell, you know what I mean? You got to tell them how to do it or what to do. And so.
Well, underwriting is one of the most hated professions.
It is. Oh yeah.
How do you handle some of the pressures of the job?
I have a very open relationship with my agents. I am there to help them turn in and submit business as easily as possible. So yes, there are rules and regulations, but by God, that is how I make money is by having agents. So if I can't help you, then what am I doing?
Right.
So I try and make sure that they all know. I mean, I have over almost 275 agents now that I look after. And if anybody needs anything, I would hope by now, after all these years, they know that it's an email or a phone call, or if I have to go out and help them, with a quoting software or something, they would know that I would do that in a heartbeat. So,
right. Do you see yourself staying in the insurance game, or do you feel that you may want to try something else?
I feel like it's been such a large portion of my adult life. I don't don't know about starting over how I would feel, because I don't have, not saying I don't have any other like aspirations, but I feel like I'm really good at this and I've developed a good rapport with so many agents. I don't want to give that up.
Right. I don't blame you.
Yeah. It's so natural to me, and I still look forward to work. And I feel like if I wasn't looking forward to it, then it would be time to find something else, but I enjoy it. And I love the people I work with. I couldn't ask for a better group of chicks. They are fantastic.
And I feel like if you were to, at some day, maybe you do end up getting tired of what you're doing.
Exactly.
But I think this is something you could do well into for a long time.
I know.
Because it's not like
it's not
super difficult.
Right. And it's not to the point where it has to be there. I could underwrite for another company, whatever. Who knows what's going to happen in the insurance world these days? Right. My goodness. But yeah, I mean, I just enjoy the challenges, and it's always something different every day. Somebody calls in with some just outlandish risk, and how do we cover this? And is there a way? And if not, what are the legalities of it? And what do you see happening down the road? And I feel like after all my years of experience, I have a pretty good base of knowledge for a lot of different risks.
Yeah, insurance is very situation based. I always have people asking me, well, what if this happens? I said, well, how did it happen?
Yeah.
Give me an exact scenario, and then I can probably answer your question. But.
And I feel like my go-to is it's on a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Like, it's on a case by case basis.
What's the craziest thing you've ever been asked?
The craziest thing I've ever been asked.
Like if it can be covered, or like, did you have like a crazy risk that
actually, and I didn't even know these existed. It's for an organic farm, and it is basically a flamethrower.
Okay.
I didn't know this because we don't have a lot of organic farmers that we insure, but it's to get rid of weeds.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
I never had. I had to Google it. This agent called in like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she said, "Hey, we have an insured. He's gonna purchase a flamethrower." I'm like, well, why? What would this be for? And she said, well, apparently it's used in organic farming. And I thought, oh, and she goes, well, what would happen if the flames got away from him? And I'm like, that's probably not something we're going to want to take on. So I don't know, but just no.
Right.
The answer is no, because it's flames, and
they're super well regulated.
Are they?
Good. Yeah, they're very, very safe.
Good. Thank God. Well, I did actually try and get our liability carrier to get on board, and he was like, no. They were like, the underwriting department was like, not happening.
Yeah. It's always crazy when you go up the chain. I always ask my underwriters, hey, can we do this? Knowing full well, probably I'm going to get a no, but I still ask just on the off chance.
Yeah. Because you might because there are times when sometimes they say yes, and depending on the situation, sometimes they say no.
Usually if I explain myself pretty well.
Exactly.
And give them a decent paragraph of what's going on, not just say, hey, they're using flamethrowers on this property.
And that's kind of what was thrown at me. And I thought,
and they're really not called, like, it's more of a weed burner.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like that's kind of threw me off when she says flamethrower. I'm thinking of something from like an action movie where
different versions,
like 30 feet.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Small flame, low pressure,
Well, and apparently
hard to really get out of control.
Somebody had attached it to like a planter almost. Yeah. And I was unaware you could.
It's basically like a cultivator almost.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Where have I been?
You get as an insurance agent talking to an underwriting person, you have to choose your language very well. Like saying flamethrower was probably their first mistake.
Yeah, because I was instantly like, oh no, we can't do that. Fire, no.
That's funny. So let's kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what we came here for.
Yes.
When did you first think that you may have breast cancer?
I didn't know anything until I got done with my most recent mammogram in 2023. And I've had mammograms I'm 46. So for the last 7 years. And they've all come back negative, no problems whatsoever. It just so happens that this particular one, comparing it to the year prior, there was like a weird haze in one section, and a very, very small haze. So I don't know who found it, but whoever did, I owe this person a debt of gratitude, because it could have turned out much differently.
Right.
But I found out at the end of November. They did a biopsy and got me the results within probably 2 or 3 days. And then in December, we started mapping out basically the next month or two of what was going to happen.
What was your first emotion when you found out it was cancer?
Just terror, just absolute terror, like tears and just like ugly cry. And I mean, just unreal. Not the why me, because I don't want it to happen to anybody, but just damn, how did this happen? Like, right. And I know it happens to countless women every day, but just shit. I'm 46. I'm somewhat healthy. I take care of myself. I don't burn the candle at both ends. And dang it, how did this happen?
Right. So after the initial shock, what was then going through your head? After all the, why
and why me and all that, how do I get rid of this? And what is going to be the quickest way to get this thing out of my body?
Right.
And that's exactly what I told my doctor. I said, because at that point I was just seeing an OB, and I said, after all my tears and after everything, she's like, I've made you this appointment. I have done this for you. Because if she hadn't, I didn't even know where to start.
Right.
It's not like there's a book saying, hey, when you find out, you have breast cancer, you better start calling these people and checking the boxes and all this. But she was wonderful, and she pointed me in the direction. And so I went to Faith Regional and talked to my doctors there. The first day when I found out that I was going to have the surgery, I told them as soon as possible, you get me in. It was the end of the year. I said, whatever you have an opening, I'll take it. It can be tomorrow for all I care. No, we can't do that. We have to do blood work and all of these things. And so they got me in right before Christmas, and I had my first surgery. And then unfortunately, they did not take enough for clean margins. So then I had to go back and have another one right after the first of the year. And
is that pretty common to have to? They
said no, because it was the tool that my doctor had used. It had made, it wasn't a clean cut that it had made. And it was just kind of a fluke, like a freak accident.
Wow.
So she had stated, hey, this never happens. So I don't know why this piece of, we sent it to pathology, and this piece doesn't have a clean cut. We can't tell if that's a clean margin. We have to go back in. And I don't do very well with anesthesia. It's very uncomfortable for me to have that like woozy out of body experience for 5 hours afterwards. So I was not happy about it, but what's your other alternative?
Right. Right.
I don't know.
Taking that chance. And
that's what she said. You're more than welcome to take the chance. I wouldn't, but you can. And I just thought, oh man, I can't leave it up to chance. No. So then we went and did that, and waited for those results. And they do a ton of testing on what they take out of you to see what it could turn into, what it's already mutated into. I didn't realize there were so many different types of breast cancer. I didn't realize all of the things that went into this until I had to be literally inside this tornado, and all the information and all the doctors, and there's just so many people that want you to get better and be healthy. I was just so thankful for it,
So now this somewhat runs in your family.
Yes, it does. My mother suffered breast cancer twice, and her last round, she had a double mastectomy, had a couple of rounds of chemo, did radiation, and she's been good for the last 5 years.
That's good. Did having other family members go through it help you in your process?
It did, because my mom she is just a freak of nature in her strength.
She's an amazing woman.
She is so amazing. Yeah. And she did not get sick off of chemo, and I did. And I was so pissed, because I remember thinking, it's going to be okay. Mom's made it through this. We're good. Everything's going to be fine. And then I have my first one, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't you tell me it was this bad? And she's like, I went to work the next day. Everything's fine. And I'm like, thanks, Mom. Thank you for that. Obviously, you should be studied, because there's something going on in your DNA that I didn't get.
That's funny.
But blame it on your dad.
There you go.
That's where you messed up.
Thanks a lot, Dad.
That's where it happened.
As usual, the gene pool failed. God.
What kind of conversations did you and Matt have initially? Because I'm sure he was kind of.
He went with me that first time to find out, because my OB had said, I need you to get your husband. I need you to get here. And instantly I was at work, and I just started crying, because I'm thinking, when your OB tells you that, you got to hustle. Like, and it's not going to be good news because otherwise she wouldn't want to see you in her office.
Right.
So I call him up and I did get it out of her on the phone. She finally told me and I called him and I was just, what are we going to do? And this is terrible. And what if I don't make it? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, just calm down. Let's go and see what they have to say. And he's very, very level-headed and not jumping to conclusions. Thank God, because I am more of a leap to the worst case scenario.
Right.
But we were talking about, we need to get this taken care of. We have things we want to do. We have places we want to go. We don't want this. This can be like a little hiccup in our life, but it's not going to dictate where we are for like the next 10 years. Right. You know, we're not going to live in this dome of, okay, should maybe I have gotten it done sooner, or should I wait? I don't know if I should wait. They don't make you do anything. It's just, they recommend you do these things,
right.
You know? So, so yeah, we talked and it was a lot of good conversations. It's just, what is going to be the best route for us and how do we make it so it's as painless as possible, right. Even though that's not possible.
Right. So outside of surgery, what other options did the doctor give you for treatment? Was there any other options? I didn't ask for any other options just because I knew I wanted that cancer out of my body. And the only way to get it out was by a procedure. When they finally did, because they did the genetic testing to see if, maybe these genes came from anyone in my family. And no, there was no genetic correlation to what I had, to what my mom had. Which was interesting. That is interesting.
But when they did all of these testings or all of these tests on the tumor, it came back that it would be beneficial. The American Cancer Society standard of care for someone with because mine is a hormone-based tumor. So all of the birth control that I'd been taking my whole life was feeding it, basically. It was making it appear and be there. So that standard of care is 4 rounds of chemo. And then based on where you are before you start, then they recommend the 20 rounds of radiation. And they base it off of this thing called an onco number. And that onco number is the ability of it to return. So mine was at a 31. You don't do chemo unless you're a 25 or above. So because I was at 31, I was a candidate for chemo. There was no other alternative. It was just, this is what is recommended. You don't have to do it. It's just recommended. And then they would tell you what could happen if you don't do it. How it could come back in less than 5 years. And the first 2 years are always the worst because the reoccurrence rate is going to be higher. I just, with my mom having it twice, God, I just couldn't bear to take that chance. If there were treatments that were available that I could do, then I couldn't say no when I had seen her power through it and, like a badass. And there's just no way. So.
Do you think that birth control needs to be looked at a little more in that aspect? Or
I mean, after finding out that mine was feeding it, yes. Yeah, I agree. Because what you got going on in there?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd been taking it for 30 years.
Right.
So granted, I know that there's a million different kinds of birth control pills out there, but why is it that these hormone-based, and granted, I think if I've read this correctly, that hormone-based cancer is the easiest to get rid of because, you can do hormone blockers, which is what I'm on now. And you can try and stop that from flowing through your body, which is great. But what's in it to get it started in the first place?
Right.
I don't know.
And they obviously know about it.
Yeah.
It's not something that's rare just by them knowing exactly if they have a remedy for it, they know that that's there.
That it's there. Yeah. Yes, correct.
It's one of those things I've seen a lot.
People do they tell people that are going on birth control that this is a possibility?
I think it's in the fine print. I really do. Okay. I think it's, just like anything, it's in the side effects or the fine print. I don't know if it's cancerous tumors or if it can cause a tumor. I don't know, but I mean, I tell you that stuff is not in my medicine cabinet anymore. Yeah.
I've seen a lot more women your age.
Yes.
Getting some sort of cancer, whether it's breast cancer or anything.
Or ovarian cancer.
Cancer.
I'm not kidding you. Like this in the last 12 months, I'm like, are we drinking something in the water around here? Because this is crazy.
And the other thing too, I've noticed is a lot of them have been from rural areas around Northeast Nebraska, which is just super weird to me. I don't know.
Well, it's not, but it just doesn't seem common,
but
especially
crazy.
with
So
all of us.
We had gotten Kai off birth control before we heard.
Oh, really?
Before you guys told us what was going on with you. And then I was like, oh God, thank God.
Get her off that.
Yeah. So she was only on it for a short period of time. And we just don't have her on it anymore.
Yeah.
And her moods are better. Like it just, it's crazy how much it really changes people's personalities
and alters bodies. Yes. And I think I just stayed on it for the longest time because I'd always been on it.
Well, right.
And it makes everything regular. You know, you can worry about, okay, these 5 days I'm going to have a period. That's it. You don't have to worry about it showing up at the weirdest times or anything, at least for me. But yeah, I don't get that.
When you and Matt had chose not to have kids at all.
Exactly.
So that,
yeah. So we were this was just the right path for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the chemo and radiation, you said you had to do 4
rounds of chemo. Yep.
Walk us through the first chemo treatment.
The first chemo treatment, I chose to do it, all of mine on a Thursday because I would take Friday and Monday off. Days 3 through 5 are the worst. 1, 2, and 3 are okay, but it's a cumulative effect. So the more treatments I had, the worse I felt. By the time I got to the 4th one, I was done. If I had it on a Thursday, I would get up, try and work out, try and get myself moving, go get hooked up because I had a port put in for all of my treatments. Get hooked up to the port or get hooked up to the IV for 3.5 hours and then go home. I would come back on Friday, the next day to oncology, and I would get basically it's called a Neulasta shot, Neulasta, I believe. And it just ups your white blood cell count since chemo is going to kill everything anyway. And the shot was one of the worst things for me because it made my bones ache. And that is a side effect of it, was aching bones, and my jaw would ache and my teeth would ache, and it just killed me. But it didn't last a long time, which was great. But the chemo was really a butt kicker for me. There were some days I couldn't get out of bed that 3rd and 4th day, and Matt would have to just bring me something to drink or something to eat. But even drinking, I had a problem with all the steroids that they give you before they pump you full of the chemo. The steroids I don't know. They made me crazy. They made me full, and everything was just so tight.
Really?
Because there was so much fluid, and those steroids were they just didn't react well for me. Right. I don't think they did.
Was any of the chemo process painful, or was it more just the aches and the?
Yep, it was just, for me, it wasn't. I didn't throw up. I had anti-nausea medication all the time, but I had to take that medication, otherwise I would have gotten sick. I had that. It wasn't painful going in. It was just the side effects were always lingering.
Could you feel it as it was?
No, I couldn't. And that's what I was.
Really?
So I even asked the nurse, I was like, is this going to be fire going in my veins? Cause I know they call the one that I had was nicknamed Red Devil.
Oh.
And I'm like, if this thing hurts going in, we're going to have an issue here, sweetie. We're not doing this. And I'm sure she was like, oh yeah, what are you going to do? What are your other options?
Yeah, right.
You're already got a port.
She's like, you're already here. You're going to do it.
Yeah, you're going to do this anyway. I'm trying to be all tough and,
You're going to be mad at me, but you're going to come back.
It's going to have to happen. Yeah.
Was there any foods you had to stay away from? Were you able to have, since you weren't having any of the nausea?
I couldn't eat, or I could eat, but everything tasted like metal.
Okay.
It had a metallic taste for the first week after I would have chemo. And then for the last 2 weeks before I would get my next treatment, everything was super salty. Your saliva tasted like salt.
Really?
You were just getting ready to take a tequila shot. And there was no booze involved.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. So for me, that was one of my big ones where I couldn't, beer did not taste like beer. The last 2 weeks of every treatment.
Right.
It always just tasted really salty and gross. And I don't know. I probably still drank it.
I was going to say, after the first couple, it's all right. Right?
It pretty much numbs the tongue anyway. It's fine.
What was outside of maybe some of those things, what was the hardest part through the chemo process?
Having to listen to my body to not go.
Which you normally do that.
Yes, I do. I'm very adamant about my workout. I'm very adamant about doing certain things, throughout the week, and I couldn't because I was so tired. Like I had to make it, I wanted to make it to work because it was a good, basically distraction from, what I was going through. But by the time I got done with work, man, I was bushed.
I'm sure.
Oh, I was so tired. And so like just doing laundry, or I would tell Matt, like, I'm going to be in bed by 8. I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. It was so tiring. So just getting that strength back and getting like when I was finally finished, I finished in March, end of March, I want to say. And we had started mowing our lawn. And I told Matt, I said, a good gauge is going to be to see if I can mow the whole yard. And the first time I would mow the backyard, and then I'd have to take a break because I couldn't finish it because I was just so tired. And my legs hurt so bad because they were, I don't know what it does to you, but it just takes your body like through hell.
Right.
And they told me that for every month you do chemo, it'll take you 2 months to get over it. So within 6 months, I should be kind of back to somewhat normal. And like every day is better. Every week since the end of March has been so much better. It's only getting more positive, and my stamina is better, and I can work out longer and work out to where I was before. But it was really tough to have to just listen to it and just know that you can't do what you used to do. You have to just take a break.
If you overdo it, you're probably kind of going backwards
and that's
a little
what
bit,
they
right? Because
said.
your body kind of has
don't
to
take 10 steps back,
right?
Which I am of the mindset, like probably like my mom, where if you're sick, you get 24 hours of sympathy and then that's it.
Right.
And this time I needed like 96 hours of sympathy. Like I was so just eating my words of I can't just will it away. And if I get up and move around, I'm going to feel better to a certain extent. And then you just have to take a break.
Right.
So
just can't tell yourself to
just chill out and just watch some TV and not feel guilty about not doing 2 loads of laundry, even though it's just you and your husband in one house. So how much laundry can one person have?
Right.
Jeez.
Was there any point during the chemo that you wanted to give up, and what kept you pushing through?
Yes. After my 3rd treatment, I told Matt, just end it. Just do something and end this because I am struggling. I cannot make it to the bathroom. I'm sleeping 10 hours a day. This is not right. This isn't, I don't like this. And he was very like, I'm sorry, I know, but you just got to hang on. You have 1 more left, or you have 2 more left, or, whatever. It probably was more of a mental struggle than a physical at times, because I'm trying to reason with myself on why feeling this bad is supposed to be good for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I know this is doing its job. I get that, but you guys are putting my body through something I've never given birth. I've never been in the hospital. I've never done anything like this. So I went from absolutely having no experience when it came to a health crisis to, let's put you in like the advanced program, let's get you on the advanced spectrum.
Let's jump a few steps real quick.
Yes, let's just get you to the advanced program. So yeah, there was a couple of times where I was like, this is it. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. But no, Matt was like, there are no other alternatives if you want to continue a lifestyle,
And sometimes a mental struggle can be way harder than a physical struggle sometimes.
Oh yeah. I think I was mad because I was so mad that how can this be in modern medicine today? How can this be acceptable as treatment? Why is this so painful?
Yeah.
And I know it's not like that for everybody. Like my mom, she had no pain, but why? And why can't you give me something to help with this?
Right.
Like you just have to suck it up.
Yeah.
And I was like, good God, I'm not quite there yet. Like, I just don't understand how you guys can just say that with a straight face and be like, yeah, it's going to be okay. Is it? Because it doesn't feel like it.
Right. And the craziest thing from the stories you told me, you were kind of middle of the road with like not bad treatment, but how you felt with the treatment. Because there's people that have it worse than what you had too.
And there were people that were constantly throwing up. And I'm just like, how are you doing this? Right. Oh my God. Like I'm struggling and I'm not where you are.
Right. Did that help you kind of push through? They're doing way worse than me.
Well, and I would talk to some of those people in the unit where we would all sit and get our IVs. Is
it kind of an open area?
It is. Yeah. You're sitting there. There's like probably 20 chairs. And then they all have the IVs. The nurses come and administer what they have to administer to each person. And you can talk, if you want to talk, great. If you don't, some people sleep, some people don't. I watch movies, but yeah, there was a couple girls that I got to know. And like one of them, this was her sixth time. And her doctor had said, if we run these tests and you basically pass, then you won't have to come back for another one. And I thought, she was 20 years older than I was. And here I am bitching about time number 2. She's on her 6th. She's like knitting blankets for people, like being wonderful. And like, what am I bitching about? Like, Holly, get it together.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were times there where that was super helpful. Cause then it's like, you know what? It could be 10 times worse.
That's probably part of the reason why they put everybody in one room.
Probably
right?
is. Yeah.
Just to kind of help with
cope,
camaraderie and cope
and talk about stories and how do you feel? Because that was the time. Had I not talked to her, she was the one that told me that days 3 through 5 of the worst. She's like, well,
so you would have never known.
No,
you just would have been hit like a Mack truck.
Exactly. And she's like, what shot are you on? And what are you doing for white blood cell count? And how many times have you been here? And I said, this is my first one. And she was, well, I could tell because you still have your hair. I'm like, oh, that's true. Haven't lost it yet. But yeah, she told me what to expect. And she was like a great source of information. And that was just someone that I met that day.
That's great. So that's awesome to hear that goes on.
Yeah, it does. I mean, everybody's just there to help everybody because it may not be as painful for you as someone else, but it just mentally sucks. Mm-hmm. Cancer just blows.
Right.
It's more of a peer group when you guys are in there together too, because for everything that nurses and doctors and everything do, they're not in that situation. They know, they know the bookwork of it.
Oh, they do
know every part of it.
Yes,
but they have a hard time. I'm not putting words in there for them, but it's harder to empathize if you've not gone through it than somebody that has gone through it. That's much easier to empathize at that point.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. But even the nurses in there, I mean, we all obviously became friendly, but I don't know how they do it day in and day out.
That's got to be miserable. It seems like you're fighting a losing fight every day.
Yeah.
Showing
like,
up to
the first time I walked in there, I remember thinking, oh shit, this is like stuff I've seen in movies and I'm bummed that I have to be here, but I'm bummed that I have to see all of these people suffering and there's nothing that we can do but this. Mm-hmm. And granted, I know that that's the way and that's the path and that's just the way life is sometimes. It's kind of a shitstorm, but it just really, like when you see it, I was like, oh, like, dang, this is real. This is not a dream. This is happening. Real life. Yes, this is happening. That's great.
So walk us through the radiation treatments now. So you had 4 chemo.
Yeah, 4 chemo.
Walk us through some of the radiation. Was that painful?
It wasn't until the very end. It was just very, it was very quick, super quick, no downtime as opposed to chemo. The only thing is like for me, after my 13th, 14th time, it was a really bad sunburn on that breast. And it was very raw to the point where bras were not happening. We're just going to go braless for a good 7 days, which in my work, I work in an office. No one cares, but it was crazy that this is also where we're at in modern medicine, that you have to basically sunburn my chest in order to get rid of what's right there. Like there isn't anything else that can be done. Seriously.
Right.
Because it does get, it's just one of those things where, yes, it's very quick, but it really snuck up on me, the sunburn part of it. And that happened, like I said, 13th, 14th time. So the last 6 treatments.
Because you had 20, right?
Yeah, I had 20. The last 6, I was like, hot. This is real hot here.
So they focus on the spot, right? It's not like your whole body's.
No. Just the first 16 treatments for me were my whole breast, and then the last 4 were more centrally located to where they had found the tumor.
Okay.
So then that and like my skin peeled, and they had said if you end up with open sores, then you can't continue treatment. You have to heal, which is why they always say don't wear bras, don't wear anything that'll basically irritate it, because you don't want to have to come back if you don't have to, which is so true. Like I fought with the poor woman. Like the first day she had told me, like, well, you just can't wear bras. And I was hell bent. I was like, well, I'm wearing a bra. Like, no, you don't. That's not an option for me. I'm a 34G. I'm not going to not wear a bra, lady. By that 16th, nope. I was like, girl, you were right. I should have listened to you the first time around. I am so sorry I was such a bitch that day. But it was a Monday, and that's all I got. God, I felt bad.
You said they gave you some kind of ointment, right?
It actually was just Aquifer.
Oh, Aquifer, that's what it was.
Over the counter. Yeah. And it helped. My God, it helped great because I didn't have any open sores, thank God. So yeah, I mean, that was okay. It was, and then to finally be done, I was like, oh God, this part of it is done. It's over. Now all I have to do is, basically see my doctors and see them every 3 months for the first year. And the second year is every 6 months because the first 2 years after are the time when it could occur the soonest. So yeah, I mean, the radiation was okay. It was just 7:45 in the morning, and you know me, I am never on time. And so to get there by 7:45 was a chore. And there were some times where I remember thinking, if there's a cop that pulls me over, I'm pulling the cancer card. I'm pulling it, and I'm gonna be like, look at this bald head, buddy. I am struggling I have to get to radiation. If I lose my spot, I don't get another one today. Right. I have to wait till tomorrow, and then I have to tack this on to the end of my treatment. Yeah. But luckily that never happened.
How often were the treatments for that then?
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah, it was Monday through Friday.
20 days.
Yep, you would get Saturday and Sunday off, but it was Monday through Friday.
That's not too bad. Then you got it done pretty fast.
I did.
So you said end of March was chemo.
Right, chemo, and then it takes them a while to get everything mapped for radiation. It probably took 2 or 3 weeks to get that mapped.
So they can see where to put it?
Yep, so they can see where to put it because the machine does everything. Literally, they are in the back just telling the machine where to go and what to do because you have stickers on your body that then the stickers stay on the entire time for the 20 times. And then the machine will come in, do what it needs to do and be done. But yeah, it was, like I said, it was daily. It was quick. It was just constant. It was just constant. Like there was always something. And like I told Matt, I'm really getting sick of, there was a time when I told him, I'm really getting sick of there always being a next step.
Right.
There's always something else to do because after this, then I have to do this. And then after this, and I was getting really bitchy, real bitchy.
That's okay.
Yeah. So, but it's done and I'm thankful. And I just want the next 2 years to go by seamlessly when it comes to appointments. So.
Mm-hmm. Do they think it's pretty solid that
they do? Because my tumor was super tiny. We're talking like a couple of millimeters. I mean, we're talking tiny.
And you're off what caused it and you're on blockers.
Right. So, and I'm on hormone blockers and the tamoxifen is the hormone blocker that I'm on and I have to be on it for 5 years. And side effects of that are night sweats and day sweats. And then something with cortisol.
Are those just called sweats?
Yeah, they are. You're right. Yes. Not just night sweats.
A little levity into that.
Not just night sweats, just day sweats and sweats. Yes. I do feel like I'm sweating a lot though. I feel like I should be a size 2 after all the sweating I've done in the last 2 months. Like, come on. And then I asked my mom the other day, they were over some Saturday and I said, when do these sweats, when do they stop? And she's like, they don't. They just keep going. And I'm like, this is going to be super fun. Super fun 5 years, Matt. This is what you signed up for, buddy.
Is there anything that you are taking that is like fluid retention too? So is that on top of it?
Not fluid. I had a problem with lymphatic issues because I had 2 lymph nodes taken out when I did have one of my surgeries.
Because they have to check those, right?
They do. Okay. Yes, to make sure it's not going to spread everywhere. But I had a problem. I have one leg that constantly collects fluid. So I've been working with lymphatic. Like I have some, not compression wear, but it's almost like lymphatic, like workout wear, I guess, because it's got little pods in it that like help manipulate some of that fluid to get it out. I found a lymphatic masseuse here in town, and she's been super helpful.
That's good.
So it's just trying to get that fluid out. They tell me 6 months, and it should all be like dissipated, but it's going to take time.
Right.
So
through the whole process, what was the thing that you dreaded the most?
That after all of this, there's going to be another tumor. Like after all of this and after all of this work, it would have been for nothing.
Right.
And I can't think like that because we're not going to know until we do the mammograms every 3 months and that kind of thing. But it scares me to think that I would ever have to do this again.
Right.
Because I would not wish this on my worst enemy. It is just super unfun. Don't just I just cannot, I've never experienced anything health-wise that was this hard.
Right.
It was just so physically and emotionally and mentally challenging and hard. And I realized that my mom had been through it, but it just seemed so different. And I just felt like it was there was just so much more baggage attached to it and so much more. I didn't feel good, and I don't feel good for 2.5, 3 weeks. And I'm still kind of under the weather, and I don't know. It's just strange.
So would you go through it again if
I had to, yes.
Okay.
Oh God, yes. Yes. But I hope that never happens.
Right.
Again.
Well, me too. I just wanted to ask. I didn't know. Sometimes somebody goes through something, they don't want to do it again.
Yeah. I mean, I think had I known how I was going to react to some of these drugs, I probably would have had like the double mastectomy right away and just said to hell with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe I could have gotten away with just radiation. But it's,
that's a tough
hindsight's
decision.
2020.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe if I had had some genetic testing that wasn't in my favor, maybe I would have done that too. But yeah, it was just something that I thought, oh, I'm just going to do 4 rounds of chemo. Oh, okay. And then, no, we have to do radiation on top of that. What? You want me to do both? Yeah. I thought I was going to get away with one or the other when this first started. And then when they found out that onco number was over 25, that's when they said that I had to do chemo. And I just remember telling the girls at work, I don't want them putting that poison in my body. Get that fucking poison out of my body. And then I didn't have a choice.
Right.
I mean, I did, but I didn't.
Right. Do you feel that the nutrition recommendations after treatment from your doctors was good, or do you feel that something needs to be changed, or even support care after the fact?
No, because it was all available. If I needed anything, there were plenty of specialists that I could contact, whether it be a nutritionist or somebody for exercise, somebody for massage. I mean, they were very adamant about helping me and making sure I was equipped to continue, or even mental health. Like they were always asking, do you have a good support system? Or is everything okay at home? Do you feel safe at home? That was always a question that they asked, which, obviously I do, but there are some people out there that don't. And that's terrible.
Right.
Like I can't imagine going through this alone and not having support from friends, family, the whole shebang.
We kind of talked about this a little bit, but with you being so active a lot of the time, with you not having strength to do anything, was that like the hardest part of it for you?
Well, yeah, it was, because my brain wanted to do it and my body just wouldn't allow me to. Mm-hmm. And then from the steroids, then I packed on 10 pounds and then I got really pissed.
From the steroids?
Yes. Because the steroids make you eat.
Right.
And all I wanted was a carb.
Right.
Like, why can't I want fruit? Why can't that just be me? But it wasn't. It was, can I have pasta? Can I have bread? Can I have everything that is going to pack on pounds? And their thing, like the nurses would always tell me, yeah, but you need to eat. Like at least you're eating.
Right.
I don't want you to not eat. And I said, no, I get that. In the grand scheme of things, it's so stupid, to be so concerned about that. But it was just me in my own head. Like I've never put on 10 pounds out of nowhere.
Right.
I look at that. That's a fight your brain's fighting for you to take it off of everything else.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like I'm gonna fight this 10 pounds.
Yes.
As opposed to
fighting everything
about
else.
This other shit that's going on.
I don't want to worry about this. So I'm just going to give that 10 pounds my all. Damn it. Yeah. That's so true. God.
It's a good way to look at it.
It is. It really is.
Keep your mind steady. So
yeah.
Maybe it's a blessing, and it could be, it's a curse, but it's also a blessing.
Well, yeah. And honestly, mine was, like I said, I only had 4 treatments. So it could have been worse. And I'm so thankful. And they were so wonderful out there at Faith Regional for me. I had a great experience. And like I said, they were always constantly trying to get me to take the tools that they offer, whether it be mental health or nutrition. Everything was at my
disposal.
Yeah.
So you truly embraced the hair loss.
Yes, I did. I don't have a problem with it, but I mean, there were times in the spring where it was cold, so I'd wear a scarf. But now that I'm on that tamoxifen, I'm sweating all the time, so I'm never.
But the scarf wasn't to cover up; it was to keep your head warm.
Yeah, to keep my head warm because that's chilly.
What can you say to the listeners to let them, or let that bother them when they go through chemo, to kind of?
It's so individual, and I know that it sucks to see yourself in the mirror in a different way than you've never seen yourself before. You don't have to be positive in the moment and think, I need to be happy. I need to get through this. Just know that the outlook for what's coming needs to be positive. It's going to get there. Don't worry about the small stuff, because in the grand scheme of things, it's just going to grow back. It's just on a pause.
Right.
It's just pausing. It's going to be okay. I know in the moment it is like traumatizing, because I remember seeing myself for the first time and I was thinking, I like it in a sense, but I also like it because I know it's going to grow back.
Right. I think you look good.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I like it very short, but it's also, I've been in a ponytail for like 25 years.
Right.
So, it was kind of hard to get used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel for those people, because it's not a definer. Your hair obviously does not define you, for God's sakes.
Right.
As long as you're getting through this and you're going to get to the end game is to be in remission and to get to a point where you are comfortable with your doctors and your treatments, and you're giving it putting your best foot forward.
Right.
I've never gone through it, obviously, but so I'm going to ask the question, is it harder because if you look at it, you don't like the way you look, or is it do people think that other people are going to judge them, or do people not want people to know what they're going through?
I don't know, because
nobody's going to judge you.
No.
I don't think there's a single person.
I don't think so either.
If somebody's going to judge you, you're not a good person.
That's just it. Then you're a giant ass.
Yeah.
I think it was always for me, the first couple times that I had worn like a scarf or something on my head, it was very like, she's sick. Oh, she's sick. Oh, pity. She's sick. Because I would get those pity stares sometimes.
That's where I can see it being hard. Like, I don't want people to feel bad for me.
Yes.
I'm going to figure it out.
That's exactly like, I don't need the pity, people. I don't need the, oh, poor yous, let me get the door for you. That was my problem. I got over it real fast, because there comes a point where you kind of forget that you're bald or you have no hair. And I know it's very hard, especially for chicks. Like, I get it. It's just not for me. It just wasn't as important after all the doctors I'd seen and after everything I'd been through. I just realized that this was the least of my problems.
Right.
Exactly. I got bigger fish to fry. It's called
you got that
getting
10
over
pounds.
You got that 10 pounds to worry about.
I got 10 lbs to take off, people.
I ain't worried about my hair.
What am I going to do with these 10 lbs? Okay. Get them off of my body.
So Matt has stayed by your side and been a cheerleader for
He
you.
is so amazing. I super lucked out. Like, I hit the freaking lottery on that one.
Right.
I mean, yeah, he's been amazing. He's so supportive, and he's such an awesome cook. Like, whatever I wanted to eat, he would make me whatever I wanted,
right?
Which was fantastic. He usually does. I shouldn't say that it was just because
I
had cancer.
All the time.
That is Monday through Sunday. Yes. Yeah, but he's so, emotional support, and like, you still look, your head still looks so good, even though you don't have hair, it still looks great. And like, us being able to laugh and have fun and not dwelling on things that I couldn't do. We would just have more fun doing the things I could, whatever.
Try to keep things normal.
Yes. As normal as we could. I mean, we'd still try and go out on Friday nights when I could. We ended up getting a new puppy. So that is something that we are very excited about. He's such a doll.
Good Lord.
So yeah, we try to keep it as normal as possible, and always think that we are so lucky because we found out so early, and doing this gave us another 30 years.
Right. I wish more people saw it that way.
I wish they would too. And I can't, I know it's gotta be so hard to not see it that way. I just don't know any other way to see it.
Right.
Because I think it would be really depressing.
Like,
just really,
it's always a miserable. I'm enjoying this conversation because you've gone through it, and it's hard for somebody that's not gone through it to give them that context to it. Like, we all feel the same way. I mean, everybody, nobody wants to say that I know what you're going through because I have no idea.
No.
But
right.
It's always like, we got to try.
You're
that's
exactly
the way
right.
I look at it.
I have to. And if I don't, I'm going to feel like a pussy. Like, honestly, I would. I'd be like, really? You're going to let that beat you? Like, come on.
Right.
Stupid.
We have had many conversations during and after all of your treatments. One of the things that always comes up is wishing that you could help other people through the same process. Some people decide to give up or do not want to go through the treatment. Right. What would you like to say to those people?
Please do it. Please, for the love of God, do it. I feel like the doctors are not there to put something in your mind about it being a waste, or they're not blowing hot air in your brain. They're there to help you because they have taken the classes and done the residencies and done all the things to make them experts or make them doctors. Why do they have these jobs if I'm not going to listen to them? Like, please take it into consideration that they are trying to help you. And I guess if you talk to your family and that's what you guys decide, that's what you guys decide if you don't want to do it. But I would just be sure and find, if you don't like that doctor, then find someone else. Find a different, maybe in a different town. I don't know.
Second opinion type of thing.
Yeah, I guess
You think the doctor's the reason people don't go through treatments like that or quit treatments?
I don't. I actually asked my doctor. I said, hey, do you have, and this was when I got my port out, which was a couple of weeks ago. I said, do you have people that ever deny treatment? She said, we have more that don't do it than do. I said, you have got to be shitting me.
Did she give a reason?
Yeah. I said, why? And she goes, because I know someone who had a bad experience and I don't want to have to go through that. Or I don't believe in this. I'm going to try this other route, whether it be maybe like a holistic approach or something else. That's great. But I said, so what do you say to that? She goes, then we tell them the facts. We tell them the percentages of, how this could get worse and how it could spread to other parts. And these are all things you need to take into consideration. She goes, that's all we can do. We can't force anybody to do anything.
Right.
So that's a little bit different. It's not people quitting. They're trying different things at least.
They're trying different things.
That's a lot better to hear.
Yes.
Me personally have never gone through this. You do what you want to do. Exactly. I hear people be like, I'm just going to give up. Like that.
And
hurts me.
Yeah.
Just
some
because
people
it's
do,
like,
though.
Well, yeah, and some people do.
Those are the ones that I would rather.
And those are kind of the ones we're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Where she was talking about the holistic and that type of
stuff. Yes, and I know some people. Yes, they're
right.
trying something different. I like I told Matt, I said there are some people who don't get the opportunity like I have been given. They don't. Either they can't afford treatment, or
they're at like a stage
they don't
4
have insurance, or they're at stage 4. Yeah, like I can't go to sleep and feel like a decent human when I've like basically pissed this chance down my leg.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're trying to help me. They're giving me the tools that I need. Why wouldn't I take it?
Do you feel that it is somewhat selfish for people that don't go through with anything in their own right? Do you feel that that's because they don't want to do it, they don't want to go through it? But what about like their families and if they're not having conversations? Yeah,
I think they're robbing their families of time. Because that's what this is giving you is time.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, this is so I don't kick it in the next 5 years.
Right.
And I would assume any cancer diagnosis is kind of that way for everybody. So you don't end up losing time with your family sooner than later. I don't know why if you're having conversations, and I guess if you guys come to an understanding, that's up to you. I couldn't do that to Matt.
Right.
Like I couldn't do that. I would never want him to do that to me.
Right.
Then what did we get married for?
Right.
I mean, if we're just going to be like buddies hanging out, I mean, go on.
That's when you send them to the couch, right?
Yes, sir.
Anything else along those lines that you kind of want to get out to the listeners? I know it's very important to you.
It is. It's so important. I just, and it's hard for me to articulate because I know that everybody's on their own path and their own journey. And I get that, but just talk to somebody who's been through it. Find, there's tons of online groups. There's people that have been through this more than I knew until I started asking around and looking around, and it will get better. It just sucks when you're in it. It's like you're just in a twister and you just got to get through it. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just that tunnel is a little bit longer for some people than it is for others.
And the craziest thing about your process, you said December was surgery.
Yes.
And now you were done what? Late, early June?
I was done June 3rd, the week of June 3rd. So the week of Matt's birthday.
So
like
basically
June 7th.
6 months?
Yeah. 6 months.
And you were
and I was done.
And that's just your situation,
Exactly.
obviously. But
Exactly. That is just mine. And I know there are so many others out there that go so much longer, but I was also very adamant about when's the soonest I can get in. There wasn't a whole lot of time that I took to talk to Matt about, these are the 12 options that we're seeing here. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm going to do. This is what my doctor recommends. I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. I didn't get a second opinion. I just went with the first one because I was comfortable with it.
Right.
So,
but I'm just thinking in the grand scheme of your life, of somebody's life.
Yes.
6 months is a small portion of
it is
to go through.
When I look at it now, yes, it was so worth it. And yes, if I had to, I would do it again. God, I want to do it again.
Right.
But I would hope that if someone else is troubled out there with thinking that, ultimately you're just taking time away from your family and your loved ones,
right.
And you don't want to.
Right.
That's not the point. You want to live your life, not shorten it.
Is there resources or testimonials? I obviously can't, after somebody's gone, there's no testimonial, but like where people went through it, had a miserable time, and really only got a little bit of extra time out of it, but it wasn't really successful. But
there probably is.
They maybe have asked them, like, they were on their deathbed, like, would you do it again? Absolutely. Why would I just quit and not try?
Exactly.
Like, I just didn't know if there was that out there.
I'm sure there is.
Probably somewhere.
Because I could see people saying, this is all for naught. Why am I doing it? Like, I'm just wasting this time. And I get that part. If they say you have 6 months, whether you do it or not, I'd probably take the 6 months.
I do too.
As best I could.
Well, and who wants to be sick for your 6 months?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, nobody wants that.
Right.
So yeah, I see that point too. I feel like if you are given and your prognosis is good and your doctors are telling you that if you do this, then you're gaining another, 20, 30 years, why not?
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. I truly believe that staying positive through something like this really does help. What did you do to stay positive? Obviously, Matt was there for you.
Yep.
What about you yourself?
Going to work helped me immensely because it gave me something else to concentrate on, take up my time. I was very adamant about that Tuesday through Friday on those weeks that I wasn't in treatment, making it to work, making a solid effort because that not so much it kept me positive, it just kept me distracted. Mm-hmm. The positivity I feel like came from everyone around me. Like my coworkers rallied for me, my friends, you guys all rallied for me. There's a group of us that go down to the Mint, on Fridays. Everybody has been wonderful and so supportive. And I don't know if I didn't have that. I want to be around people. I don't want to wallow in my own self-pity. I couldn't just sit at home and do nothing. Mm-hmm. I mean, even on days when, I couldn't get out of bed, I understand that. But I was getting to a point where, okay, if I rest today, then tomorrow I'll be able to go see a friend or go see Angie or talk to Kai and Zach or, something, and know that I'm doing this because I want to live.
Right.
The alternative is not for me.
Right.
Not at 46. So.
Right. Agreed. We had a little celebration for your last day of radiation.
We did. Yes.
How did that feel for you?
It felt wonderful. I imbibed too much Michelob Ultra that night, but it was so fun because I didn't have to get up and go do treatment the next day. I didn't have to go to a doctor's appointment. I feel like the last 6 months have kind of been riddled with appointments, treatments, doctor here, doctor there. But it was great. It was fantastic. I had such a good time.
Did you know that was that kind of the goal, to be ready for that?
Not to be ready for that. It just worked out because I was under the impression when I first started radiation, they were telling me like the 15th. They were saying, you're not going to be able to start till May 15th. We won't have your mapping done, blah, blah, blah. I get the call on like the 7th. They're like, hey, guess what? We can get you in tomorrow. And I'm like, I'll be there. Sounds good. Because then I just knew in 30 days it would be done. And it just happened to work out.
That was great.
Was that the night that I was there?
Yes.
That was the night you were there. Yep. Yeah. So that's usually like their summer party. Yeah. Is celebrating Matt's birthday.
Yes.
But then we also were able to celebrate her end of radiation.
Yes.
So it kind of all worked out. So it's kind of a thing you got to be normal.
I know.
Again, for that party.
Yes.
So that's kind of cool.
It is. And I didn't have to worry about, like I said, just getting up and going somewhere and going to an appointment.
Did the dog come at the right time?
Was that kind of like the dog came a little early, I'd say, for me, because the dog came like 2 or 3 weeks after my last treatment. And man, there were nights when I was tired. Wow. I'm like, God, kid, we haven't had a puppy in 16 years. Oh my goodness. He's wonderful, but he has so much energy. Yeah.
Do you want to talk through the other two at all, or is that?
Oh, Cameron and Jay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, last year we lost Cameron in October, and then we lost Jay in March. So we always say like 2023 was like our giant shit year.
Right.
Because both of our kids passed. And then I found out I had cancer, and that's basically what 2023 was. It was like a ball of like crying in tissues all the time.
Right. And Jay had cancer.
No, actually Jay just had seizures.
That's what it was.
He had seizures, and then he ultimately passed away from his last seizure. He just never woke up from it.
Oh.
But he passed away at home, which was so nice.
Right.
But and then Cameron wasn't too far behind, but they were 14 and 16.
Right.
So they had super long lives, and they were spoiled as shit.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
they were great dogs, though.
They were awesome. Yes. Yeah. But they were getting older and slowing down. And I mean, poor Cameron was in a diaper for like the last 3 months.
I remember I was there one time
him.
with that. Yeah, that was tough seeing him like that.
It is, because you're just like, it's like Benjamin Button, like, oh God.
Yes, yeah. 2023 was kind of just a bad year.
It was.
Because we lost Napa.
You lost Napa,
too,
yes.
Yeah, right before we moved here.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even get to see the new house.
Well, and was he sick, or was it just like a seizure?
He had gotten sick and just wouldn't eat.
And they don't know what it was?
They still don't know exactly what happened.
Oh, poor baby.
So.
Yeah. But he was older too, wasn't he?
He was older. He was 14, 15.
14. That's such a long life for a dog.
Oh, for sure. And we got him when he was, from what they could tell, he was 3.
Oh, okay.
And he kind of had a hard life between then and there. So he had a great life with us.
Exactly.
He always got to be around the daycare kids.
Well, and think about, you gave him like his best years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could, did he ever tell you a story about when he actually passed away?
I don't think so.
So he had kind of just collapsed on the kitchen floor, was still alive. Anyway, I had taken him to the bathtub because he had an accident, and I was cleaning him up a little bit, and I could just tell he was just gasping for air.
Oh, God.
And I finally told the kids to come up, and I was like, "Hey, you might want to get up here because I don't think he's going to make it long."
Yeah.
Right. Like literally without like a minute after they walked in the door, he took his last breath. Yeah.
Oh,
so it's like almost like he was waiting for them.
He was waiting for them. Dude, dogs are like that. They're super intuitive.
Yep.
I mean, they're more intuitive than half the people I know.
Yeah, that was a tough one for me. First dog, and it was
exactly. Yes. Well, and we had never. I mean, those were our first 2 also.
Right.
So then to lose them both in the same year, I'm like,
that's crazy. Yeah. What was Jay?
What you
what
mean
kind of
breed?
dog?
He was a Chihuahua terrier.
Okay, so they were all 3 terriers.
Yeah, they were all terriers, and they were sold like when we got them. They were both sold to us as Chihuahuas. But then when they got past 10 pounds, we kind of thought, there's probably not a lot of it.
Right.
There's got to be something else in there besides Chihuahua.
Right. Well, you've always been a strong woman, and I had no doubt that you would beat this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anything else that you would like to get out to the audience about your story, or just raise awareness around breast cancer? Those are kind of all the questions I had about it.
I think, and this has been awesome. Women get your mammograms done. Please just do it annually or when you can. It's just so important. If mine could be found by a little bit of haze on a photo, then my God, they're coming a long way with pictures, obviously, but it's just so important to stay up on that because it can just slide away and get farther gone than what you want it to.
What's the recommended age nowadays for that?
I think, like for me in my case, because there was hereditary, it was every year after your 40th birthday.
40th.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think they make that now the recommendation that it's just wise for women to do it after their, every
40th.
year after 40th.
So how old were you when your mom went through it? Because I don't think we've talked about that.
Yeah. The first time I was 21. And then she just went through it. She just got done with her 5 years last Thursday. So yeah, then she had her double mastectomy 5 years ago.
So
for the second time.
Did you since you were young when it happened, did you take a way more proactive approach too of getting checked more often?
Yeah.
Or did you wait until even later?
I waited. I don't think I was 40. I think I was in my 30s. That I was getting checked. I think both me and my sister were, since my mom she was very adamant about girls, make sure you do this. Yep. This only takes 20 minutes out of your day. For God's sakes, go get a mammogram. So yeah, I think I was more adamant about it. And plus, if the sooner you catch it, the easier it's going to be. You know, just with anything, the sooner you find out, the easier the treatment's going to be, the less time you have to spend in hospitals.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Vance, on the...
No,
Definitely
I think
appreciate...
I kind of did it.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the
coming in
openness.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. I'm an open book.
Good. We're going to get into a few ending questions.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yep. So with it being an election year, how do you feel about where the state of our country is right now? And do you feel that we are being well represented at the federal and state levels?
Oh. And this is after the debacle last Thursday. It's just a debacle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with at that level. I'm not comfortable with that particular person running the country, but I'm even less comfortable with like the GOP getting absolutely everything that they want. If someone else gets in there, because I am more concerned with like kind of the Roe v. Wade issues and taking away rights from people that have had these rights for 50 years. And now we're taking things away instead of leaving them as is, I guess. Right. So I am more concerned about that. I should be more concerned with the president, but I am more concerned about what Congress could potentially do if they get what they want.
Yeah. And I know you and I always disagree a lot when it comes to politics.
Yes.
And I think there's conversations that could be had if if they would conversate like you and I conversate, or Vance and I conversate. I think some things could be agreed upon.
Well, but isn't it strange though how they're so concerned about pointing fingers at each other,
right?
And not taking care of their constituents.
Right.
I find this very strange.
Yeah.
Why is that the main gig?
Well, we kind of call it the unit party.
Yeah.
Where they're all just kind of scratching each other's back and not worrying, not representing us.
No,
at all.
I don't feel
it's
like
them against us type of thing.
Yes.
But they want us all fighting each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's very disheartening.
Right.
Because I don't feel like there's a lot of unity. I don't feel like there's a lot of, hey, I got your back. I don't think so. And
it's tough to bring unity when the economy is the way it is.
Oh God, yes.
And certain things like that too.
Well, how does any middle-class citizen, I'm sorry, I'm middle class. How does anybody get ahead?
Well, the middle class is the worst off at this point right now of all time, I think.
Yes.
So it's kind of a tough situation. And I would say, wouldn't you say the biggest portion of the country is middle class?
It's getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Because they're making a upper class and a lower class.
Yeah.
Lower class isn't struggling. They get all their shit for free. So
yeah. There's enough programs where they can survive and still maintain.
Because they want you that way. They don't want you owning anything. They want you will own nothing and you'll be happy. That's what they want.
I say. So on the same lines, do you feel that the two-party system still works in today's time?
I think it could, but I think there has to be a lot of give and take, and there has to be some discussion instead of the constant finger pointing and why did, shame on you. And
well, they'll yell at each other in open space and then be talking and having drinks behind closed doors.
Yes. And that's so embarrassing because what did you want to have happen?
Yeah.
Did you want to get your point across? I don't know. Or am I just supposed to pay you under the table, or what should I do?
Right. Do you feel that there's any other system that could replace it, or do you kind of just feel like it needs to be fixed?
I wish it could be fixed. I'm so not a politician, and I don't know how these people do it. But I would think if you're elected by people, then you would want to work for those people, and I don't see a lot of that.
I think a lot of them get into it for that. And then get down there and then learn that they can,
they work for money,
work the system,
but then if they're not getting anything done,
pocketbooks up.
But if they're not getting anything done, why are their constituents still voting for them? Like,
because they're told to.
Yeah. What is up with that?
I don't know.
I mean,
that's why we try to do useless.
Yeah. Our other podcasts.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And we try to talk, and we try to talk on both sides. We don't try to just take a...
Well, and I am not I'm very independent. Yes, there are times when I'm more democratic, but there are still times when I'm more conservative too. Like, I just don't see a lot of let's come together to make this work. I feel like that's not the end game.
Mm-hmm.
What is the end game? It's one person and one person only.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that going to work?
Right. And we've always said it's always about the issue.
Yeah.
You can lean one way or the other depending on the issue.
Exactly.
But a lot of people are like, oh, I'm blue no matter who, or I'm,
and I would never want to be that way because there's certain things that I definitely don't agree with on that side.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's kind of case by case basis.
Yep. Yeah. So where do you see yourself going in the future? Are you enjoying where you are? Do you see yourself staying in Northeast Nebraska?
I do. I do see myself staying in Northeast Nebraska. I am enjoying where I'm at. I'm enjoying my work. I'm enjoying my life. I just want to travel more. Like if anything, these last 6 months have told me life is short. If you're going to do it, get out there and do it and make the plans and say yes and go do stuff.
This kind of gave you a new outlook on life a little bit.
Yeah, I myself need to stop being so regimented and so like by a schedule and it has to be this way. I need to like pick up on a Friday and we need to go somewhere for the weekend or we need to take a week off because Matt and I are so like trained to, especially when we had pets, we were that way because we didn't want to burden anybody with our pets because they were seniors and they needed all this care and all of these things. But yeah, we need to travel more and we need to do more things because it could be done. It could be gone.
Right. And you never know. No, not just
you don't.
Cancer. It could be anything.
It could be anything. Yeah. So yeah, I think so.
Cool. Well, big thanks to my co-host Vance Neidig and producer Yoshi over there. Without them, the show would not be what it is. Huge thank you to Holly.
Thank you guys for having me. This was very nice.
Fun. Yeah, we really appreciate you making time and opening up about what happened and everything.
Yeah. This was super like therapeutic.
You were a little nervous. You didn't know if you wanted to come on.
I know I was because I'm thinking, well, who is going to want to listen to me blab for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. But it was nice. It was a good way to tell my story. And yeah, I like this. This was fun.
Good. Well, we'll have to have you back sometime.
Hopefully it'll help somebody else through their journey.
I hope so too. God, I hope so. Yes. Very much.
That was really my hope with bringing you on was that it would maybe help the next person.
Yes. Agreed. I wouldn't want anything more. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously I wanted to hear your story and have it recorded. And I've been a little selfish that way. So, but other than that, I think we'll probably wrap it up there. If you got everything out you wanted to get out.
I got everything out. Yes.
Perfect. Well, keep on the lookout for more great episodes and we will see you guys next week.